Hello again, everyone. Nate from Sprite Lovers here with a new episode of PlayStation Pursuit. I have a decent assortment of games this time. Most of them are from trade-in credit at stores. The rest of them are thrift store finds, gift from a friend, and maybe a couple other things I'm forgetting about. So hang tight, I'll show you what I got. Okay, so the first game I got was actually a trade/gift from a friend of mine. He was looking to play the very first Forza Motorsport on original Xbox, because that's the only Xbox platform he owned, and he was watching his friend play Forza 3. So he knew I might be one to have it, so he messaged me. He's like, "Do you have that?" And he wanted to borrow it. And I was like, "Well, look, I'm getting rid of a lot of games, but that's a cheap game. You have a PS1 game I don't have, maybe I'll trade you." And he was like, "Okay, cool." So I ended up getting from my friend Tom WCW versus NWO Thunder. I don't know if I have any other wrestling games for PS1 yet, so there's plenty. I know WWF Warzone, the SmackDown titles and stuff, so I'll definitely be adding those to the collection little by little. The next two games were from the store J Street Games. They have a little rack that's like $1 or $2 games, and then that rack had buy one get one sale that day, so I got these for like $2. I got World Cup Golf Professional Edition, it says. I don't think there's a standard edition. And then I got this one. It's a Natsume published title, and I like getting every time I see their logo, I'm like, ooh, I gotta get that. And it is Skydiving Extreme. Isn't too fancy, but definitely glad to add that one to the collection. So that was from the J Street Games. The next few are some cheap games I got when I traded into Voltage for some store credit. These ones were all just like filling in the store credit after I got some big games out of the way. I got some cheaper ones that I didn't have. So the first one I got this copy of it because they had multiple copies, but it was sealed, and it's Madden 2004. So I'll probably always leave it sealed because I don't know if I want to check this one out. But very interesting. It still has the like hang tab on it from back in the day at the store, so I was like, why not get that version since they had it sealed. And then I got a sequel to a game that I got a few episodes back, and I still haven't had a chance to sit down and really play it, but I had a couple people on that video mention that they liked that series back in the day, so I now have the second one, and that is Street Skater 2, complete, in good shape, and showing the musical choices on the back, just like I think the first manual did when I showed it. And then the last one I got looks amazing, by the way, when I looked up video. It's Top Gun Fire at Will. They might have a long box version of this too, I think. But what's funny about this one, the reason I said it looks amazing, is it has really bad full motion video cutscenes that just look so cheesy and over the top. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. So definitely glad to add that one, and I'm sure even if it's not a good game, I'll definitely get some value playing that one just from comedic value. And it might be a good airplane game. It might be like Ace Combat clone or something, so it might be good. The next thing I got was actually a thrift store find. It was real cheap, only a few bucks, and I didn't have one yet, so I figured I'd pick it up. And that is the official Sony Multi-Tap for 4-player, or I guess this would add 5 players. I don't know if there's any games that do 5-player. Actually, I think there is. I think the Bomberman. Wait, we're going to find out right now. Bomberman Party Edition. It says 1 to 5. So yeah, it's not quite as good as the 10-player Saturn Bomberman, which I wish I could get that game. But it's very pricey. But anyway, it's cool that there's a 5 with this. You could play 5-player Bomberman on the PS1. I don't know if that particular Bomberman is one of the better ones, because I know there's one that's better than the other one, but pretty cool, I thought, nonetheless. Let's take a little breather and talk about some of my PlayStation favorites, and then when we come back, I'll show off the rest of what I got. Okay, so for my favorites this episode, I'm going to talk about 2 platforming games for the system. One that's well-known and one that might not be as well-known. So I'm going to start with the well-known one. The Crash Bandicoot series is synonymous with PlayStation. It's just such a great franchise back in the day. It's too bad to see that it kind of faded out, and once Naughty Dog wasn't in charge of it, it didn't really do much on the other platforms of any value. And there's tape on the case of what I'm looking at, so it's kind of gross. Old tape. But anyway, this is my personal favorite of the 3 on the original PlayStation. Except the kart game's really good too. But of the platforming ones, my favorite is Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. So there's a few reasons why this is my favorite, besides the awesome, colorful disc art. With Crash Bandicoot Warped, they first of all added a lot more variety to the game. And I know some people might not have liked these other elements, but I thought they worked well. There was a level where you're flying an airplane, and it's just... there's the graphics on these new levels were so impressive that maybe that kind of sold me on them more. It's like I didn't mind these breaks because it was nice to see how they were pushing the PlayStation so far. But going back to like the core gameplay of Crash Bandicoot, I played through all of them in a row, maybe 2 years ago, because I was like, you know what, I played a little bit of each of these, but I've never beat the series. So I went through all 3 of them, and this gave me kind of the perspective to make me choose this one as my favorite. So playing the first game, it came out early on the PS1, didn't have... it had digital controls only, no analog controls. And there are some jumps that, like, the timing and the momentum of his movement, you know, I fell, and I knew what I wanted to do, but it was like the controls didn't feel quite there yet. To make it like, you know, I can really time my jumps and stuff. But the level design, the graphics, and just the overall gameplay was fantastic. Some of the bosses were a little but I love the core gameplay of Crash Bandicoot. It was really fun, and they did a lot of fun, playful ideas with the camera angles and stuff. You know, the whole classic running towards the screen chase cam style thing, which has been a staple in other Naughty Dog games like Uncharted franchise and stuff too. So really cool. In the first game. The second game improved on a lot of it, and the graphics were just phenomenal, but I still had some control issues. There were some parts where, because they added analog controls now, but then I was like, okay, the analog isn't really as tight as a Mario 64, or, you know, even some PlayStation games that have analog controls. It just didn't feel quite as accurate. When I got to this one, the very first level, I believe, is like a medieval-based level. As soon as I started moving this, I could just tell it was the tightest control. I was like, ooh, they nailed it. And the timing of jumps and everything, it kind of became more automatic. So it's like, even though some of the levels are difficult in this, the controls were never an issue that made me like fail. And it reminds me a lot of when you play a game like the Donkey Kong Country Returns games. They're really difficult, but the controls are so good, and once you figure out the feeling of the momentum, you know when the timing you can do to make jumps. Like, you know, you got a couple seconds before, even after you start walking over the edge of a pit, to give you that leaping power. And in this, I felt the same way. With 1 and 2, I felt like I couldn't time certain jumps right, and even just the analog movement wasn't as tight, especially for a lot of the death traps and stuff that they have in these games. But going back to just this game in general, like I love the extra levels. There's a couple motorcycle levels, which you know, they show them on a motorcycle in the front, and there's a jet ski type battle thing where you play as, is it Coco? Yeah, the girl Coco, and the water effects, so they look like Wave Race on N64. It was like really impressive for the PlayStation. So graphically amazing. The soundtrack is really cool in this too. And I feel like this is just so typical of Naughty Dog. They make a great franchise, and then by the third game, it's like they're really pushing the hardware and learning all the ins and the outs, because they did it again with the Jak and Daxter series. Even though Jak and Daxter 1's my favorite, I do appreciate what they did tech-wise for 3. And then I'm in the minority opinion of liking Uncharted 3, best of the first 3 Uncharteds. 2 is amazing, don't get me wrong, and that was the more influential one, but something about Uncharted 3 was just more my style of game. But also in terms of the tech side, just blew our minds of how good it was. And then now they're still pushing the technology so well. I can't wait to see what their later gen PS4 titles are going to look like. So anyway, Crash Bandicoot, the greatest hits. It's in one of these collections I have to get. You know, it's a fantastic game. Lots of people have played it, but this is my favorite of the series, and I wanted to talk about it. So this next platformer I wouldn't say is as good as a Crash Bandicoot or Spyro the Dragon or something else on PS1 that's like one of the best. But I actually really like this one. It's got a great soundtrack. Fantastic, crisp, orchestral, and moody music. It reminds me of a movie, a score from a movie. Kind of like a kid's fantasy movie, maybe even not quite a Tim Burton one, because that's Danny Elfman has a specific style, especially in his older scores. But anyway, this game, first played it, like many of the games I've talked about on this show, first played it on a demo disc, and then I found it for $5 at a flea market a couple years ago. I was very happy. It is Jersey Devil. It's just a unique character. He's this little devil dude, and it had really cool level design, and the art for it was really simple and clean, and you know, some of the environments were a little different than what you typically see. I mean, there were some like city streets, and you know, kind of there's like haunted house looking areas and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just, something about this game always was cool to me. It was, you know, just a simple platformer. Like I said, it doesn't blow minds or break any new ground. But, you know, there's so many copycat games that come out when, like, franchises or genres, you know, have their boom. And sometimes there's just crap out there, but then sometimes there's stuff like this that's, you know, really cool, and you remember it years later, and when you go back and play it like I did, I was like, this is really cool, and you know, I'm glad I have the full game now, and I never finished it, but I really liked playing the full game, and it has, you know, analog and digital controls. It's basically, I think what I like the most about it is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like it's trying to copy some of the better platformers out there, but it also isn't like claiming to do anything special. It's just a simple game that does what it needs to do, and it has colorful graphics, cool level design, and the controls, even though they're not on point to something more fine-tuned, they're also not as bad as some platforms on PS1 that, you know, like Croc, the first Croc game for PS1. I really like that game, but the controls are just really bad in it. It's so easy to kill yourself and fall in a pit, and or get hit by an enemy, or not aim right at an enemy. And this, like I said, it isn't as smooth as some other platformers, but it's not that clunky. You're not going to have those moments where you're like, I'm fighting with the controller. So it's rising in price too. It's not super expensive, but it's, I think because it's uncommon, you just don't see it that much anymore. If you see it for under $20, it's probably a good value. So pick it up. And you know, if you end up liking it too, then you'll be like, score. But I like it, and I think that it's kind of again, one of those under the radar games, and you should give it a chance. It's pretty cool, and I definitely am glad to have this on the PS1. All right, so I still have quite a few games I got from trade-in credit. So none of these were paid for with actual money. It was funny. I actually had some loose PS1 games, which, like I said, I'm collecting complete games. I believe I've said that in the past. So if there's some that don't have a manual, and it's been a long time and I don't find a manual, I just add them to the trade pile. And so that's what I did. And I had a decent stack of loose or manual and disc-only games for Dreamcast, a couple PS1, and then I had some doubles and stuff that I threw in there. And I got over $100 in store credit. So I was able to get some a good range of games once again, which I always love. And I'll start with a game that I had for the Sega Saturn, and I actually really enjoyed this one. But I ended up selling the Saturn version to my friend Adam, who goes by Gunstar on YouTube. When we went down to Pittsburgh, I sold him my copy, and he was really happy to get it. So I knew I wanted to get it because it was on PlayStation. I wanted to get that sooner than later because I liked the game. And it is Pandemonium. It's actually a really fun... it's like a platformer that's side-scrolling, but it's got 3D graphics, so it's like 2.5D. And this is in great shape, front and back, so very glad to have replaced the one I had. And then I got the third game in a series that I got the second game already in a past episode, so now I just got to get the first one, and that's Point Blank 3. Like I said before, super fun light gun series, and I love the disc art here with the bomb on it. It's really colorful and in great shape. So thanks, Voltage, for having all your games in really good shape. And even if they're not in good shape, they make sure they leave the store in good shape when you get them. So always great to go to Voltage. This is a game that, it's a PC port that's not that good. And back in the day, everybody was like, the N64 one is only slightly better. I played the N64 one first, and I actually, now that I've played this is chunky, don't get me wrong, but I think the N64 one's worse for a couple of reasons. The controls didn't work as well. Even though the graphics aren't as pixelated, they look more flat and blurry and lifeless, and I just didn't really like it when I had it. And I popped this in, now that I got this version, and I was like, I kind of like this a little more. It feels more like a downscaled PC port than a just complete weird dumbing down that the N64 one felt like to me. But that game is Hexen, and like I said, not the best game, even on PC. I know it wasn't the best Doom clone, but I like it because it's got melee combat instead of, and magic and stuff instead of guns. And I really like it in the PS1 first-person games. Because you don't think of the PS1 as a first-person shooter system, but there actually are quite a few, as I've talked about in the past, and some that I still have yet to get. And actually, funny enough, the next game is a first-person shooter. And I had this in Greatest Hits, but now I have it actually complete, so... Or Black Label, it was complete, but this is in fantastic shape. It's Star Wars Dark Forces, which was a Star Wars-themed Doom clone. Really cool. If you haven't played this, it's not the best. I mean, it's a Doom clone, so it's simple shooter, but I really like it. It's really cool. And look at that disc art with the Stormtrooper. It looks so cool. It's colorful, textured looking. And then, nice back art, too. Fantastic shape, like I said. Thank you guys at Voltage. And now I got the second game. Let's see, do I have the first one? Nope, I think all I need now is the first game in this series, because I have the third one. I have now Ace Combat 2. I had Ace Combat 3, Electrosphere already, and there's Air Combat as the first one, because they changed the name over after the second one. But fantastic shape. It'll be this versus Top Gun Fire at Will, so we'll see which one's better. Alright, I have 3 more games here. First one is, this was a budget title when it came out, and it's in like a series of cool budget titles, some of them better than others, that came out towards the end of the PlayStation's life. And this game is actually really cool. It's called, well, let me show you. It's called Board Game Topshop. And it's kind of like a board game, but you're in like this mall, and it's like side view, so it's not like you're looking down at a board, but it's different shops and the way they interact with each other and stuff. It's just such a unique title. You have to at least watch a video of it, but I'm definitely looking forward to spending some time and playing it, because I've heard a lot of good things, and from what I watched, I was like, this just seems so cool and unique, and it's in fantastic shape, one that I've been wanting to have for a long time. I saw this at least once last year, and once the year before, and I passed it up, and I kind of regretted it, so nevermore, I have it now. And the last 2 games are the bigger titles. These are basically the ones that when I got the store credit, I was like, I want to get at least 1 or 2 big games off the list that are rising in price, so I'm not spending money on these bigger games. So the first one I got, I heard of before, but I didn't really watch video until after I bought it, and it looks so awesome. I can't wait to actually play it. It's called Hogs of War, and believe it or not, this is about a $50 game now. Great shape, and after looking it up, it's pretty much a Worms 3D before Worms 3D came out, and it's got that strategy-based gameplay of, like, teams versus each other. Instead of worms, it's pigs, and really cool weaponry and stuff I saw, and the graphics look really good and everything. So after seeing this, I'm like, I can see why this is rising in price, because the Worms franchise is very popular, and this is in that same style, but it's such a unique game as well. There's only one in the series and stuff, so you can only get it here on PlayStation. So definitely glad to have that hard to find game off my list, and like I said, it's up there in price. And this one, you wouldn't believe it, but this game is actually really gone up in price. Like, you think, like, okay, there's Atari collections and the Namco Museum collections, and they hover around different prices, but they don't really spike too much. But this one is up there in price, and it is Konami Arcade Classics. Great shape on this one. The disc, the manual, and the case, of course. And yeah, it has a lot of games actually that I haven't played before. Like, I played Gyrus and ER Kung Fu, which was, like, I believe one of the first one-on-one fighters. And some of these I've never played. Puyan, Circus Charlie, Shaolin's Road, Rock and Rope, Time Pilot, Super Cobra I've heard of, but I never played. That's a helicopter one. Scramble and Road Fighter. So, pretty cool to have games that I've never played before on here, and because it's rising in price, so glad to basically get it for free because of the store credit. And like I said, I didn't trade in anything massive to get all these games, so very, very, very happy. So that's all the games for this episode. It's time for me to add up the numbers and see where I'm at from the last one. Alright, you ready for it? 398 games is the total I'm at so far, so almost to 400, and maybe that number will be crossed soon, because I'm going to have some things in the works. So super excited, almost at 400 games already, and even though that's a lot of games, there's still a lot more to go, but I'm just really happy to have made it this far, and I got a lot of cool games out of the way already. So got some big ones out there, and then a lot of common stuff, but it's fun. It's been fun collecting all manner of PlayStation games, so I'm super excited. And then when I eventually get all one game, I'm still going to continue the pursuit, going for all the variants, all the long box variations if I don't have those, so there's plenty more to do with the PlayStation Pursuit. As always, thanks again for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe down below. That way you can catch these videos as they're uploaded, plus I'll appreciate the subs. I'm on the road to 500 now, so if I can reach 500 subs, I'd probably like to do, the traditional celebration, maybe a giveaway or something like people tend to do on YouTube, and, it's a milestone, so it's fun to celebrate it with others when you get to those points. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, you can definitely help me towards that, and then eventually we'll get to that 500 sub episode. But thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.